We are possibly live streaming, just waiting for confirmation. Yep, we're live, I believe. Hey everybody, it is the time that you've all been waiting for. If somebody could link this in the chat with @everyone or @matches or something, that would be fantastic. We are here to reveal who Jabba is going to lose to and 15 other pairings. Callus Invitational 6, I am joined by last year's third place finisher, money winner, Altina, who I've never had the pleasure of doing one of these with before, but he's here with notes in hand, ready for thorough analysis. And then we have Jabba.
Hello everybody.
Go ahead.
Hello everybody. I've been like quite excited to be here. This is my first time doing this. So if I roast any of you guys, that's not my problem. Skill issue.
Perfect. And then we have Jabba, who rolled out of bed 3 minutes ago with a beer in hand, who's also joining us. He won his play-in bracket last year, and then it's kind of a blur after that. How did it go in the main event?
Shut the fuck up. That's how it went.
I remember waterfall, not much else.
Hey, that should be used against him, not me.
It worked. It won.
It did win.
Right.
That's the reason why he isn't invited this year.
Yes, there is. So, I made a little PowerPoint presentation with the pairings. These were, as always, drawn randomly. In hindsight, I kind of regret not reordering the pairings because we're starting off with a doozy, and there's a couple of really good ones early on, but it is what it is. Random is random. It's how they fell. We're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about them. No one other than my wife and I has ever seen these pairings before. And without giving them away, we go, nope, here, there we go. We watching? The first pairing is, and like I said, this is a doozy. M-Dragon versus Soulwind.
Ooh.
Oh my.
Who wants to begin?
So
Let's give it to
Jabba,
the
you
guy
can go
with the nose.
first. Okay, sure. Okay, both of these are like Spanish great players. M-Dragon, historically, he's done really well in Callus Invite 1, Callus Invite 2 and 3. Not so great performances like somewhere in the middle, but he's really proven he has it recently with topping the ladder so consistently. He did had a great SPL 6 and 4 or 6 and 3 or 7 and 3, I believe. And well, I think he's one of the players to be in this tournament. Soulwind, on the other hand, he's always been a great pilot, but I don't actually think he has done that well in the past Callus Invite, somewhere in the middle, like maybe he turns out even. And well, I think I would definitely have to favor M-Dragon in this matchup.
Jabba?
Yeah, M-Dragon is obviously M-Dragon. Soulwind had a pretty good run last year. I think this has potential. This is going to be, a good match. I think it definitely has potential to be one of the more boring ones. For spectators, sometimes sometimes I feel like M-Dragon spices it up, but this should be a good series. We're live predicting, right? Are we doing that?
That's correct. Oh yeah, we need one from Altina too. Who did you have winning?
M-Dragon, but we will be seeing some how do you put it? Are we going to see some 2017 teams versus Soulwind's team stolen from last SPL?
Go ahead, Jabba. Who did you have winning this?
That's a good roast. I'll take M-Dragon in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to add to that. I don't know that Dragon's the better overall Pokemon player. At the end of the day, if you list the top, 20, 30, 40, 50 Pokemon players of all time, I think Soulwind ends up higher on the list than Dragon as a whole, as the career across all tiers. But we're talking specifically ADV. I've got to give the edge to Dragon. He plays it more. He builds in it more. He spent most of the year atop the ladder. I don't see the reason to pick Soulwind. Soulwind might be a better pilot, arguably. I don't know that I feel too strongly about that. He plays very well. But as far as experience in the tier, teams, playing the tier recently, there's just no reason not to bet on Dragon here. It's interesting, though, because these guys really know each other, both from World Cup, and they were both Sharks 2 years ago, maybe 3.
Yep.
So they definitely know each other. There's definitely familiarity here. That could work
Don't
against
know if
Dragon.
they have played in call together.
Yeah, no,
Don't know if they have played in call together or not.
If Soulwind knows the way that M-Dragon plays and builds, that could certainly work against him and add another layer to it. but I'm still gonna pick Dragon here.
Hey, Callus. Zach says if you give him perms, he'll post the predictions.
Does he not have them? He's supposed to. My moderators are supposed to be able to predict in there. Oh, that's why. It's because I deleted the prediction channel from last year where they had it and made a new prediction channel and probably forgot to do it. Well,
Right.
too late. That stinks. I'm gonna have to deal with that after. I don't want to fuck up my tabs.
All right.
Oh, by the way, how's your Star Wars trivia, guys? Do we know what planet we're on here?
Isn't this like the place at Tatooine?
That's correct, Tatooine. That's correct, Altina. It's the first round, so I went with from the first movie. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Next pairing.
Shut up, Jabba.
That's pairing. Let's go.
Ta-da!
Oh, spicy pairing. I like this one.
Jabba.
Yeah, this one's definitely a little interesting. Let's run a quick check on how they did. Dice had a middle of the pack run last year. Did Eden not play last year?
He didn't play since I think Callus Invite 3, I think.
4. No, last year was the only one
Oh,
that
4.
Eden has not played.
I don't know. These are players I'm not too familiar with. I don't really. They're the players that I watch their games and they kind of wash over. I know I've seen Dice play some pretty good advance lately, and a lot of untours.
Yep.
And he's been looking pretty good, so I'll take him here.
This one's hard. I've been thinking about this one all week because I drew these last weekend, and I'm still really not sure. It feels very even. Historically, they have very similar all-time Callus Invitational records. I think outside of the game, these are two high IQ, intelligent guys. I think they both understand the tier. I think they both understand intricacies and mechanics better than the average ADV player, even among Callus Invitational ADV players. I think these guys really get it. I can't really think of any particular specific reason why one of these should really have the edge over the other guy. I mean, I'm not going to go with the cop-out of, oh, it could go either way. It's a 50-50. You got to pick one. It really could go either way. I guess I'll go with Eden, but I don't have anything more than flip a coin, and that's what I feel in this moment as for my reason.
Right. Okay. This one for me might be a little bit more detailed, but I'll always credit with Eden as a guy that got me into ADV when I was first starting out. He gave me this dump with like 100 ADV teams and he picked out the best ones for me. So anything I've achieved in this tier is largely due to him. I think he was the one who taught me at the start of when I started playing that Scum guy is great. I should play Scum every game. And look where I am now. I played Scum like 70% of my games. Yeah. But I think something about Eden is that it might be hard to make a judgment on his current playing level because while we have seen his peak, which is if I'm not wrong, is Callus Invite 2, where he lost to Lavos, if I'm not wrong. And then people always meme about Friendly's Eden being one of the most feared players. But we just haven't seen him in a serious ADV tour for a while. So if he returns to that form, he's like one of the top players in this for sure. On the other hand, we have Dice. Dice is considered like one of the more innovative builders in the game. I've actually kind of teamed with him in ADV PL 1, and I saw firsthand what a grasp of the tier he has, and he's definitely one of the best builders. But that is precisely what might go wrong in this matchup. He might self-sabotage in the builder. We saw against Tamahome last year that he brought a spikeless jump love team, and if he does that, Eden will never bring something like that. He'll bring something solid. He might just lose to himself in the builder. So I think I'll favor Eden in this one.
Got a split decision on this one, which I feel is going to be pretty common. Oh boy, it looks like it's my turn to go first on this next one. Let's go. Markov versus Watermass. These are two players that I feel are both pretty bold in the builder, unpredictable in the builder. Markov brought things. He brought Omastar to SPL. He brought Ursaring to SPL. He brought, against our team, Flareon to SPL. He's absolutely not afraid to bring absolute jank that nobody else is going to bring to a tournament game. Watermass, I feel, has a lot of that in him as well. I think perhaps he has toned it down a little bit in more recent times. He's really humbled up and tightened up, but he's still not at all afraid to bring something weird or unexpected into Marco. At the end of the day, I can't find a reason here to pick Water Mess over Marco, and that's not a slight at Mess. I just think Marco is great. He's just the better player. Mess could give him a game, and Marco could shoot himself in the foot in the builder, but I'm going to go with who I perceive to simply be the better player and pick Marco. That's the cue for either of you to...
For me,
Go ahead.
okay. For me, I think that Water Mesh traditionally always seems to me like it's one of those more new players that would build specifically for the opponent, and I think Marco is one of the guys in this tour that's harder to specifically prepare for. So I'd favor Marco in this one. That's I don't think either is like particularly known for their normal stuff. I think maybe Water Mesh would play a bit more spikes than Marco historically, but I don't think it's easy to bet on anyone other than Marco in this matchup. Just historically the better player. Jabba.
Yeah, Marco had or the cop had a great run last year. If I recall correctly, I think ABR made light work of him in the finals, right, Callus? It was
a sweep, yes.
Yeah, which was unfortunate because Marco had such a great run up until that point. I think he had a vacation round in there too, where he won a set while he was in Vegas or something like that.
Oh, and you said a vacation round. I thought you meant he got paired against you.
Save it for my pairing, idiot. Mess, I think Altina pointing this out. I think Mess, tends to over rely on the scout sometimes, but this is one where you can't really. So maybe we'll get to see Mess in his true form, and see how many magnetons he brings. I think this is going to be a good pairing. I think Mess, if he can get into form, over the next week, I think it'll be a good set. But obviously, you can't go against the guy that went second last year. So I'll go with the cop on this one.
Unanimous agreement here. We've got Altina up first for this next one. Why don't we see what you think about this pairing?
This is
oh my god.
This is an interesting one for sure. I guess I'll start off. C, obviously, new to the CI, one of the new faces. Everyone knows how crazy he can get in the builder. Asta is Asta. There's not much to say. I'll let the guy with the notes go over his credentials. I think he's obviously probably one of the top 5 picks most people have. So this will be an interesting set. We'll see what C can do. I'll take Asta here though.
Interestingly enough, the last time these two players played, it was C winning the game. It was a Careless Fight Night, if I'm not wrong, where Asta brought Sceptile, Gyarados, DD Mans with Magneton offense, and then C had this, can't remember what he brought, I think he had a Lapras. But I'm pretty sure we won't be seeing either of that in this round. Asta, we all know he created half the stuff in this tier alongside M-Dragon, one of the greatest, one of the people I take most inspiration from in the builder. C, one of the newer players, and I think he might be unpredictable in the builder. You don't know if you're ever going to see a Lunatone. You don't know if you're going to see you might see the Zoomer Charizard from C, but hard to go against Asta in this round. I hope Asta returns to form and shows us what he's capable of when he finished second place in Kalos Invitational. Definitely one of the players to watch out for. I have to go for Asta, even though I'm a huge C fan.
Short and sweet. It's a top 6 player in the tour against a bottom 6 player in the tour. No disrespect. Bottom 6 in Kalos Invitational is still very good. It's top 6 against bottom 6. Asta's better, and his avatar is less stupid. Asta wins.
I have the avatar too,
So, the next pairing. We have one of our play-ins players in action. Welcoming Pock to the play-ins is, or to the main event rather, is our dear friend Jirachi. You guys are too damn quiet. I'll go first. Okay, so Pock I've been advocating for from the beginning. Big believer. I think there's every part of his game that's solid. I think he brings good teams. I think he plays well. I think maybe the one criticism is he doesn't really get too cute, doesn't really get too creative. I'd be surprised if Pock busted out, a Marco-esque, Ursaring, UU nonsense, whatever. He sticks pretty tightly to the conventional, and maybe that's a flaw, but that works for some people. We've seen that success over and over. We've seen, Umbre, who just only plays 4E stall, and several other players throughout ADV's history who do that. They just stick to solid, boring teams, and they play it well, and it's good enough. I'm really a big believer. On the other hand, if you guys watch my ROAPL auction video, you guys know that I have an absolute man crush on Jirachi. I really like the person. I really like the player. It's hard to know what you're going to get from him in ADV. Nobody's really seen him play it in a serious tournament setting in a couple of years now. He's kind of been...
He just played SPL, Carlos.
What,
he played SPL.
3 games?
And from what I heard, he was responsible for the builder of the Sharks the entire SPL. That's what Jirachi is.
That I believe. It's hard to know what you're going to get out of Jirachi, and it's also hard to pick a play-in player over a main event player. I mean, if I'm being logically consistent, I'm supposed to think that Jirachi's better, right? But I'm going to go with what I think is going to be an unpopular pick here. I'm going to say that Pock keeps it rolling and gets the W.
Yeah, Jirachi is definitely a well-rounded player. I'm not too familiar with his advance. Pock, on the other hand, I think looked great in play-ins. Actually, just played really well. Good brings. I think, and with that roll in, that warm up into the main event, I think he's looking good. Like you said, he's a play-ins player. He should be. He shouldn't be the favorite against anybody in this, but I think he looked so good that he obviously showed he shouldn't have been a play-ins player, So now that he's here, I think he's definitely a force, and anyone's gonna have to watch out. So I'm gonna take him in this specific matchup.
Man, I didn't think anyone was gonna agree with me.
Well, for me, I kind of. Okay, I like to say something about Jirachi. Jirachi is one of the 5 Magneton defenders left in advance. Everyone has moved away to the spinner era, and Jirachi is still here saying that CB Mans is great, Magneton is great. I want to see you bring your CB Mans and CB Mans Jirachi. Bring your CB Mans and Magneton. Show us that it's still great.
I think he very well might.
And then, yeah, I think on the other hand, Pock has been on form. Pock has used a lot of really standard looking stuff. It's a lot of Scarm, maybe something that you might consider from one of the public dumps, which is the Venusaur Starmie Aerodactyl team. That's from a public dump, and so he might not be as much of a builder in the tier, but I think he has been editing current.
Oop. Did you cut out or did I cut out?
You didn't cut out. I think.
We lost Altina here real quick.
Oh no! I'm back.
Okay. Is he still? I can't pull it up. Is he still in the Discord call?
Yeah.
Altina, we can't hear a word that you're saying, man. I don't know if you muted your mic by accident or what, but we got to get you back. Jabba and I will stall for time and move on to the next one. Give you a minute or two to get back here. Not sure where you went, but you cut out mid-sentence. And I keep calling him Pock, even though he corrected, and it's actually Pack. But it's gonna take a minute. Habits are hard to break.
I was just following your lead. I usually say Pack.
Yeah, Pack is correct. I confirmed it with him. It reads as Pock to me. I don't know why. Like Tupac.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there we go. He's back.
Oh, nice. Okay, right.
Please continue.
Right. Where did I cut off?
It doesn't matter. Who do you like to win this match?
Jirachi, because I want to see the last CB Mans Magneton defender continue on, and like show us that it's still something worth using.
I just realized with this next pairing, it's going to be very exciting to my chat, but it's not going to be as exciting to this call because none of us are really, maybe Altina a little bit, but none of us are really in like Smogon jerks or whatever. This is going to delight the Smogon people. Yeah, there we go. So these are two huge names, obviously. Two of the all-time great players across different tiers. They both managed SPL last year. It's not as exciting to me because like I look at it and I see, like basically I would predict one of these guys pretty handily, one way or another, depending on the tier. If we were playing Gen 7 or Gen 8, it's obviously tricking. If we're playing, Gen 2, it's probably Roro, so on and so forth. I don't know where the overlap is between these guys. That's my problem with the pairing. They're both all-time greats, but it's just spaced out very differently. Tricking did well last year. He went 2-2. He looked solid. It's an ADV match. I'm going to pick Roro.
You can't ever bet against Roro in ADV. I'm like good friends with Roro. He has been like killing it on the ladder. He has been great in whether it's in theory, whether I've seen his crazy new teams. I've seen his performance in seasonals. You can't bet against Roro in this tier, especially like not one who has like branched out so much and used so many more interesting mons and that still work out solid. I mean, you saw I think he used a CB Medicham lead team in seasonal. I think we also saw him use some crazy Carmine pass with Magneton. You can't bet against Roro in this tier. You don't know what he's gonna bring, and he just has solid and more experience in the tier.
Any respect for tricking? Do you think tricking has a reasonable shot to get him?
Which more like which team is this Italian gonna steal next? I'm sorry, but the fact is that I don't really see tricking winning this match, even though I think he has a really solid grasp on the tier. And I mean, like he did make an ADV Cup semis a few years back. So yeah, he's a great player, but can't bet against Roro.
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. So I'm guessing what did Roro go last year? 1-3 probably.
Well, that would be difficult to take 3 match losses in the main event of Callus Invitational.
1-2, 1-2, or 1-2 rather.
He lost to Dice.
He lost
finished
to
Johnny, I think.
16th.
So he must have gone 2-2 or maybe 3-2. He lost round 1 to Johnny, so he was in the lower bracket from the get go. I don't remember if he went 2-2 or 3-2. He's never his best finish historically in Callus Invitational is 4th, which I think was CI6 off the top of my head, but he's never actually made money in this, which is
that's
surprising for who he is and what his resume is.
You got to think he's due. Maybe this is the year. I don't know how, with a lot of these big names, a lot of it is dependent on, how much they're keeping up with the tier. Sometimes it can be hard to jump back in if you've been stagnant for a few months. Tricking obviously looked pretty good last year. Obviously, he's one of the pilots in the tour. So me personally, I'm always going to take the builder over the pilot. But I think it'll be a good set. I think obviously tricking, like I said, looked good last year, and Roro is Roro. So.
I'm going to have you start on this next one, Jabba, because I think Altina and I are going to see it differently. You're probably the most neutral guy, so...
Okay.
All right, Jabba. Tell us.
Hold on. Waiting for it to...
Oh, my God.
Umbre and Kurtz. This is an interesting set. Man, as far as I know, both these players tend to just use the same builds over and over, and these two players, they're on the other end of the spectrum from what the other person uses. Umbre, I think you brought up earlier, is more of a fortress stall kind of gamer, and Kurtz, just cycles physical offense, and he's the absolute jolt spikes master. He wins from unwinnable positions, and you always feel like you're tight against Kurtz, and the game's going well, and then Aerodactyl comes out, and then the game's over, and you're like, where did it all go wrong? I'm gonna take Kurtz on this one though. I played him in that last play-in set last year, and it's just he's so scary. I just think he's really good, and so I'm gonna go with Kurtz.
You want to go before or after me,
Right.
Altie, and I'll give you the choice.
Uh, I like to go first.
Go ahead.
This is the battle between the ladder player and the tour player. So it's a great matchup in my eyes. I would definitely go with Kurtz because contrary to popular belief, I don't think he's just a Jolt Spikes master anymore because he got bored of facing Virgin Store and Magdo every 3 games he played on Smogon. So that's literally what everyone has been bringing against him, Magdo, and that's why he's been switching it up recently. And I think that he's just a far better player. I've not seen much from Umbre over this year, and like I know that she historically has been using some of the fatter teams, Milo Do, Fortress Stall, those heavy on hazard control. But I think Kurtz has the experience and the aggression to outplay those sort of teams and keep his pressure on. I'll go with Kurtz.
You guys are going to be shocked to hear that I'm going to pick Umbre. I really, truly, people think I don't like Kurtz or something. That's not true. I don't have anything against him. I like him. He's a very likable guy. It's plain and simple. I've just never seen the tournament results with Kurtz. He's had a couple chances in Callus Invitational. He's never gotten more than one win. A couple times he hasn't even gotten there in play-ins. He's played, ADVPL, ROAPL, whatever. I've seen him in all these side tours. Not that those are like the best measuring sticks, but like I've consistently seen Kurtz go 3-4, 4-3, and like these random, stupid like Mushi League or Cosmic or whatever. And it's like, if you're really this like Asta, Roro, top end kind of guy, well, why aren't you winning more against this like middling competition? I like Kurtz. I truly do. I just don't see what everybody else sees. I'd love to be wrong. I'm one of those people who's so happy to change their opinion and so happy to like be, you know what, I was wrong, you were right, that's great. I would love to see Kurtz succeed. And I don't think Umbre is like miles and miles better than he is, but I do think she's better. I think the 6-3, 7-2, whatever it was run that Umbre had just like one SPL ago is better than Kurtz could do at any point in his career up to this point in SPL. I think Umbre has the higher ceiling. I have no clue how this matchup goes. It's clearly stall against aggro. But regardless of the specifics of what they're going to bring team-wise, I think Umbre has the higher ceiling. That's an unpopular opinion. I bet you the predictions go the way of Kurtz. I'm going to pick Umbre.
She's the people's champion. Don't forget that.
The people's
champion.
I'm going to go with my girl, Umbre. All right, Jabba, you're definitely first on this next pairing. You're on the spot. You ready?
Okay. Is it me?
Yes.
Oh. Come on, give me someone shit. Let's go.
Oh my
Bruno.
god.
Honestly,
right.
I don't.
I like to go
even
first
know.
on this.
This is definitely one of the ones where I don't know this player that well. I don't watch a lot of his games. You guys are gonna you know what? You guys are gonna have to tell me what I'm in for. Go ahead, Altina. You got the notes.
Okay. He's still an ADV Cup, by the way, unlike you.
Yeah, because I forfeited.
I like to say this is a matchup between the guy that got the charity case that got my spot because I decided to give up the tour versus the guy that I knocked into losers bracket round 1 last year. So that's the matchup we are facing. Jabba, I don't want to comment about someone in this call too much. But
Come on, take it easy on me. Put on your kid gloves.
I'll talk more about Bruno because I think he's an innovative builder. No one here can question his ability as a player, but he never has actually done well in Callus Invitational. I'm pulling up what I can see, and his best record was 1 and 2. I would hesitate to personally put him as like a top half of the pool player, even though we all know he's a great player. We can see that he posted a dump on Smogon on Linear's strat about at the end of his Callus Invite run, and he built his own teams. We can see that for sure. But I actually took a look through it when I was searching for teams to use for my own run, and I actually didn't find many builds solid. Like what sets him apart from like other innovative builders is that his grasp on a tier, or probably his or maybe amount of testing that he does, is probably not on the level of someone like say H-Clad, who is also going to bust out something crazy. So maybe he can get some of the builds that we think might be lost in the sauce. I think nonetheless it's great to see a prominent tour player attempt to bring their own flavor. And I say that if Jabba brings something solid and like it doesn't int in the builder, he might have a shot in this matchup.
Okay, so let me see if I can find the quote on my phone. I want to explain my answer. So Jabba asked me at some point in this week for like a hint, which I don't really give because it's not fair. I don't want to give anyone a leg up. Jabba had no knowledge whatsoever of who his opponent was going into this, but the question that he asked me was, in your subjective opinion, is my opponent in the top half, one of the top half players in the pool? And I kind of grinned a little bit, had like a shit-eating grin, like that's not the right question, but I answered absolutely yes. What he didn't ask me, is he one of the top ADV players in the pool, or is he one?
You were doing some sneaky shit like that. You're a piece of garbage.
You also didn't ask me, is he one of the players that I would think is on the top half of players likely to win this tournament? That is not what I asked. You asked players. Overall Pokemon players, yes, Auntie is absolutely in the top probably 10 in this tournament. If we're talking all tiers all the way around the board, Auntie is fantastic. As far as ADV specifically, the piloting is there for sure. I think where he really peaked, even though he did lose that match, he had the round 3 pairing in CI6, I think, against Linear, where he almost knocked Linear out. He came within an inch in 2 of the games from knocking Linear out, and history gets completely rewritten. All of a sudden, Linear's only won 1 of these rather than 2. He might not be the greatest player in CI history. Maybe now it's ABR or whatever. It would have changed everything. But the piloting is there. The issue with Auntie has always been the teams. I remember he brought in the year that, I think again, CI4, where like Sandvale was still legal, he brought Gligar but not Cacturn or something to that effect. Or he built some like janky... A couple of the teams that year in particular were like, what the fuck are you doing? I remember last year what was it, the Rain Dance Tyranitar in his match with Altina. I remember
I think that was the best game I've ever played in my life, if I'm being
super
honest.
Entertaining. ROAPL, I remember he brought a Sneasel. I don't remember if he won that game or not, but like it's fucking Sneasel. Basically, I think...
He won that game.
Of course
he won that game.
Basically, I think Bruno has the ability to shoot himself in the foot in the builder, but he's obviously doing something right. He's still in ADV Cup, 6 rounds in, or whatever the fuck it is. Jabba, I gave the most appropriate and fitting avatar, as you can see.
Yeah.
We're gonna go against the grain here. Obviously, my boy Jabba is gonna win. He can't beat the mighty Waterfall Suicune, but Bruno from Elite Four, not a problem. Jabba's got this.
Thanks, Callus.
No problem. I'm not gonna make you predict. That's stupid. But like,
I'm predicting myself.
what do we think of our chances against Auntie?
Probably about 100%. Easiest set of my life, probably.
Confidence is key. I'm gonna have somebody else go first for the next one. I'm gonna fix the permissions on my phone for predictions, so somebody, Zach or whoever, can do it. But in the meantime, the next pairing is... Oh yeah, I talked about this one a little bit the other day. I mentioned to Georgie, I have no clue what his relationship is with his opponent. Do you know this guy? Have you ever played against this guy? They're kind of opposite gens. I don't really... There's got to be a 10-year age difference between these guys in real life. I have no clue if they've ever crossed paths. Or maybe they're best buds. I don't know. You tell me. Here's the pairing.
Oh.
All right, I'll take it. This is Endl had, I think last season was the best run a play-ins player has ever had. He looked pretty good. Where did he end up? Yeah, he ended up 7th, 8th with Mcmur. He had a great run. He obviously made it all the way through play-ins too, where he beat Watermess in that last game. Georgie. I like Georgie because he's new. He's definitely one of the wild cards in this one. I definitely didn't want to get paired against him. You have absolutely no clue what he's going to bring, and so that's scary from the builder perspective. I definitely wouldn't want him. I don't know, the results here haven't always been there. He usually falls a little bit short, but he's still scary. And I've known him for as long as I've played Pokemon, which is a very, very long time. So I'll go with him on this one. I'll go with the Flopster.
Go ahead, Altina. I'm still tinkering with the permissions.
Okay. For me, I think Georgie is a guy that he either brings a team that will have a mon that 6-0s, or he will just get 6-0'd by something common. There's no in between with Georgie teams. Right? And then Endl, on the other hand, we see him play mostly standardish stuff, Skarmory, and he has this tendency to sometimes have this Skarmory revealed as a 6 Pokemon on his team and not click Spike with it. We've seen him actually get knocked out. I actually saw his matches against H-Clad in ADV Cup where the exact thing happened. He had a Skarm, last mon, didn't get a Spike, and H-Clad got all 3 up. So yeah, some weird tendency about Endl, but I'm hoping personally to see Georgie take this game because we get to see more interesting stuff from a builder's perspective. I want to go with Georgie here.
I'm just going to go with the completely biased prediction of Georgie as well. Not because I have anything against Endl, but because Georgie is like top 3 on my list all time of favorite players to watch. I just find him so entertaining, so I just want to keep him in the tour for longer so I can see more of what he does. Even in the most recent tour that I hosted, most recent money tour anyway, the Callus Crew Challenge, Georgie had what was, in my opinion, the most entertaining game. He brought that wild DPP Lucario set with copycat and agility and shit that was just roaring stuff over and over and over again. And it almost won. It didn't, but that's not the point. It was, in my mind, the most entertaining and the most memorable match of the tournament. And it's not the first or the last time with Georgie. He's just so ridiculously bold and creative. He's awesome to watch. If I were picking objectively, honestly, I think I'd probably go with Endl. I don't know the last time that Georgie played or gave a shit about ADV. I think Endl has gotten genuinely better, and I think his run last year wasn't a fluke. I think Endl is a perfectly capable SPL starter at this point. Not that Georgie couldn't be if he wanted to be. But picking with my heart and my bias, gonna go with my boy Georgie for this one. Next pairing.
Oh, Zomog finally got his pairing.
Either of you?
I go first. Zomog, a guy I teamed with in an SPL this year. So I've like kind of worked with him in some sense, but personally, I think that Zom has not actually done super amazing in ADV since his first Callus Invite run. I think he went 2-2 after play-ins, and he had resulted in a pretty good SPL. He went 6-3, and then he had this reputation back then for using a ton of spikeless mixed offense with his fighters. He brought Blaziken back. He used a lot of Breloom, but something I've noticed in his recent years is he's defaulted to more Skarm teams. Actually, from what I've seen, he's more of a Skarm guy than the new age Skarm spinner sort of guy. And then, so I think if we see Zom, we'll probably be seeing him use more classic builds. I like to add that he actually lost to M Dragon recently in ADV Cup, even though I've not seen Sid replace. And on the other hand, we have Techless. Techless has historically been a pretty good player. Callus, you clearly saw something in Techless because you got him for SPL. So maybe you're in a better position to comment on Techless. But I think I have to go with Zomog for this one.
Yeah, touching on that, it was a roller coaster in SPL with Techless. The end result was that he went 3-3, which is fine, not great, not terrible. It felt really hacksy in a lot of ways. Like the game against Mcmur that he lost, he clearly should have won, and probably against ABR as well, who had a one-turn window to crit or flinch him, and of course it's ABR, so he did. But like on the other hand, the game against Johnny in week 2, for example, we clearly should have lost, and we're the ones who got lucky. It's hard to say. Techless is not the most consistent player. The games against Ojama were ugly. He knows it. We all know it. It was not his finest hour, and there very well might have been nerves or whatever the personal issue is between the two of them factoring into that. That's fine. So it's hard to predict with Techless. Techless at his ceiling can certainly keep up with Zomog, but I think Zomog is both the more consistent as a whole and probably has the bigger range of the two. Zomog probably has more teams that he's comfortable with than Techless does. I think Techless's best bet for success would be to switch it up, show up with a little bit more variety, and catch his opponents off guard. Maybe not in this matchup, because Zomog doesn't give a fuck what Techless is going to bring. He's just going to bring what he wants to bring. This one has the potential to be close, but Zom, I've seen beat BKC, keep up with Asta, keep up with the top end. The ceiling feels higher for Zom, and I think he's the more consistent player. So I don't think this is necessarily a stomp. I don't think Techless needs a miracle to win, but I'm going to pick Zom.
I want to add that the last time that these two players played was in the SPL where Zom went 6-3 in. It was I think Techless had a Crocun and he might have choked a bit. I think it's a Crocun Porygon Magneton team or something like that. He choked that slightly, and I think Techless will want his revenge for that. I'm hoping to see Techless do well, but I have to go with Zom again, as I said just now.
I unfortunately do not remember that game. Jabba, what do you think?
I have a really good memory for games.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I don't have a memory for anything these days. Techless had a rough play-ins last year, and he certainly played SPL. Zom is Zom. I think he already dropped the RFN in the chat.
Would not surprise me.
I'll just go with Zom here. I don't have much to add on top of you guys. I think Zom always looks pretty good. So, like you said, I'm with you. I think he's got a high ceiling.
All right, we'll go to the next one. There's 4 pairings in my mind that are real highlights. So we've covered 2 of them. M-Dragon versus Soulwind is a big one. Tricking versus Roro is a big one. And I think it is safe to say that this next one is a big one as well.
Oh, wow.
No.
Oh, no.
Or Mcmur. Or, maybe that's the kind of matchup you want right out of the gate, right? Take down the king, round 1. I guess since I started talking, I'll just go into it. ABR won last year. ABR's ABR. Mcmur had a good run. He looked good last year. I think this so far for me is the top pairing. I think this is the best one so far. I think it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think it could go either way. But obviously you can't predict against the guy who just won. So I'll go with ABR on this one.
I want to preface my prediction with I actually really disagree and dislike ABR's dogmatism with this tier, because he says stuff like, oh, this is a law, this is a rule of ADV, you can't go against this rule and law, and I want to see him proven wrong. But this man is extremely consistent, and he's not afraid to bring the extreme virginity in teams. But something to note is that in the last few months, he has diversified more, and he actually has been trying out a lot of the BLs on the ladder. So we might be able to see more than top 25 OUs from ABR like we saw last year. On the other hand, we have Mcmur, pretty good SPL after a solid run in last year's Catalyst Invite, who lost finally to me, and then one of the players who built his own teams. And he is one of the players that will be built heavily based on your opponent's preferences, but I'm definitely not expecting to see I didn't expect you to bring Skarmory moment in this matchup for sure, right?
I mean, alright, so let's get the obvious out of the way. I'll pick ABR, and there's not many people that I would pick, if anybody, that I would pick over ABR, but I think Mcmur is one of the few players that has a non-miracle chance to beat ABR cleanly, to not need hacks, to not need whatever. Mcmur is one of maybe 6 to 10 guys who I think could genuinely beat ABR without needing to get lucky, without needing to fish for matchups, whatever. Mcmur has the potential to beat him clean. I think that I think Mcmur is not the kind of player that ABR likes to play against. He's like the perfect balance between, he brings like solid standard, but he also has his own little twist. He brings his own little weird shit that might just throw ABR a little bit off. As far as like what ABR says about, oh, this is a rule of advance or whatever, I don't know. I've learned to not take too much of that seriously. He posted a tier list, quote, that had Tyranitar as number 7. And, like, when you read something like that, it's like, all right, come on. Like, I don't know if it's his sense of humor, if he's trying to throw people off or whatever, but, like, he can't possibly actually believe that. So, like, a lot of the stuff that he says, I just kind of... But, I mean, putting all that aside, he obviously knows what the fuck he's doing. He's our defending champ. According to the survey, a lot of you guys think that he's the favorite to win again this year. He thinks he's better than Linear was. I don't know that I personally agree with that, but keeping it in the here and now with this pairing, I think Mcmur's got a shot. I think this is like a 55-45 matchup. I give Mcmur a lot of credit, but I still pick ABR.
I'd go with Mcmur here because I want to see Mcmur do well after last year.
I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think it's the upset of the century if Mcmur gets it done.
Yeah.
All right, so moving from one of the closest, one of the clear highlights of the round to the most lopsided pairing.
Oh.
You guys know my pick. I invited Jester to main event for a reason. I think he belongs here. I think he deserves to be here. He's not better than Star. Star wins the match.
That's a bit harsh, but honestly, I think Jester's a great player, but I actually don't think I've seen enough matches of Jester to actually comfortably put him as a top player. I've seen some of his games. He has played really well, like actually like on par. Like he won't be worse than any player in this tour from some of his games, but he has like some pretty weak games too. So it's hard to say with Jester. Star on the other hand is like pretty much consistent, Mr. Consistent. Been doing pretty well. He has like averaged out pretty good Catalyst Invite placing with a peak of I believe he peaked 3rd in Catalyst Invite 2. And he's been trying to improve on his placing ever since. Yeah, but I think it's hard to bet against Star here. But maybe Jester can do it if he pulls out what his peak, which I saw against in a specific game where I see Jester's peak is his game against Endl in ADVPL. That was like the best I've seen him play. And if he pulls out that form, he might be able to take games off Star.
I want to note real quick, too, that throughout the week, people have been asking me, oh, give me a hint, give me one pairing, who's so-and-so against whatever. And I've responded with a lot of nonsense. I said it was ABR against Star, Asta with Roro, just blatant, filthy lies. This is the one pairing where when somebody asked me, I told the truth. Because like all good liars, you have to splice in a little bit of truth with the lies to make it believable, right? So like I gave about 10 garbage answers. But when someone asked me about this pairing, I actually told the truth. I don't know if they expected that or not, but I did mention yesterday to, who was it, Coltior maybe, who asked me. I actually gave an honest answer as to who Jester was going to be against. Anyhow, continue. Jabba, let me rephrase the question. Why do you think Star will win?
Oh man, Star is he's Mr. Consistent in this tournament. You're probably going to get at least a 6th, 7th place out of him. And obviously he'll be in the running to win it all like he usually is. And Jester is the official representative of the Zoomers. So it's nice that you finally put out an olive branch to the youngsters and let them have their rep in here. I feel like there's a storied history in Callus Invitational of people's first matches, if their first match is in one of these newer ones, and they're making their debut, it always tends to be against, the best players. I feel like that's a thing that happens every year, and Jester's on the receiving end of it this year. I can't not take Star, obviously, as I'm pretty sure everyone is going to, but Jester's going to be a fan favorite. He's going to get some support, so a huge upset here would definitely make a statement.
Does this match count as bullying? Star, I think, is in college. Actually, I think he might even be in post-grad, whereas Jester is in middle school. Is this... I feel like this pairing feels wrong. It feels dirty. It feels like bullying.
Jester can't lose because if he loses, you won't have anyone to make those jokes about anymore.
Yeah, no, it would immediately get everybody's attention and respect if Jester were to win. That's for all the shit that I give him, being genuine, it would be a huge win for him and just an instant, okay, leave him the fuck alone, take this guy seriously. It'd be hard to joke after getting this W, which, again, I predict Star, but if it goes the other way, that's huge. Okay, it's been a little bit, took us a while, but we have finally gotten to our second play-ins winner, Mr. PK Leech. I believe that these guys have played quite a bit. I believe they've played on Pokemon Perfect and their friends and all that good stuff. Leech is going to be welcomed into Callus Invitational by, drumroll,
Oh, wow.
by our friend
Wow.
H-Clad.
Just wow. I remember H-Clad always complaining that he always gets lucked by Leech. If that happens again, we will see Leech win. Both are really innovative builders. Leech has shown that he plays more than just stall with his last set against Arctic. H-Clad, we never know what he's gonna bring. He can bring your Mischievous, he can bring your Aggron, he can bring your Roselia. You never know what you're getting with this guy. I'll always go with H-Clad, he's my good friend.
Jabba.
Yeah, this is quite a pairing. PK Leech, I remember we talked about him during the play-ins pairings, and we said maybe he was on a bit of a slide, maybe he wasn't looking great, and he put that all to rest in play-ins. He looked good. He even toppled Arctic right at the end, and Arctic was one of the favorites to take it all. So he looked good in there. H-Clad is I would say one of the other wild cards that nobody ever wants to be paired against. As Altina just went over, you never know what you're getting with him, so he's hard to prep for. But for from a spectator perspective, he's definitely one of the best players to watch. Unless he brings Stall against what was that against Blightbringer 400 turns. Yeah, you don't want to narrate that match. Tell you that much.
Wait, you narrated that match, right, Jabba?
Yes, I did. Certainly did.
That was the worst match ever.
I think it was over an hour.
I woke up at 8 a.m. to watch that match, and I fell back asleep halfway.
Yeah, that was a match for sure. But I'll go with H-Clad on this one. I think H-Clad had a pretty good run. Yeah, 4th last season, or last CI. He looked great. And so I'll take him in this one.
Yeah, I'll keep it relatively short. I'll be the third vote for H-Clad. Leech had a good run in play-ins. He almost completed the 6-0. He looked good for sure. When I make these predictions, and this has been true for years and years and years, and maybe this is one of my flaws in the way that I evaluate players, and maybe I should pick newer people, younger people in SPL, so on and so forth. But I tend to just look at, okay, one of these guys has results and has proven it to me. One of them doesn't. H-Clad does well in CI basically every year, goes deep, whereas Leech is new and doesn't have the tour results yet. Could he get there? Absolutely. But Clad to me is a known commodity, a high-end commodity who will probably finish in the top 12 or better again, whereas Leech finishing in the top 12 would be, I don't know, an overperformance, I suppose, it would exceed expectations. Not trying to dump on him, just realistically, do you guys expect Leech to top 8? Probably not. Would you be surprised if H-Clad top 8'd? Probably not, because he's done it twice. That's the way I think about it, and maybe that's too rigid, but gonna pick the Clad.
That's a good hit-to-hit against Clad. I just want to let you know that.
Now, okay, this is one of the weirder pairings. Jabba?
Conflict. He's I think probably a lot of people when they saw that one, they were like, "Did you mix this with the Gen 2 invitational list?" Conflict is very good. A very good player. His advance though, I don't know. Johnny, on the other hand, is just he's. I think I rate him very highly. I think he's great, and I think he's going to go far this year. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I have him probably in my top 5 this season, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to break it down, but I like Johnny to go far, and so I think this is going to be light work for the JG2.
Altina?
Personally, I was slightly surprised when I saw Conflict was invited because I didn't think that he had done much in the tier especially since his last invite in CI, and I think he even had a Plains appearance where he didn't do that well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
And then yeah, so I was actually kind of surprised that he got invited. But we haven't seen much from him. But I have played Conflict on the ladder a couple of times. He has been using some. I think I saw him. I played against a game with him where he used Fortress Jotion stall, and that was really strange. I don't know what we're gonna bring. Are we gonna see some new meta build, or are we gonna see something out from 2015? We don't know what we're gonna see with Conflict. So it's hard for us to go against Johnny G2 here, who has just been consistent, did well in SPL, did well in last Callous invite. So yeah, I'll go with Johnny G2 here.
I will too. Johnny's one of my top 5 or 6 to win the tournament, but I would put an asterisk here that this one I think has some real upset potential. Conflict has a pretty damn high ceiling, and he brings some weird shit. There's potential here to bust out some weird set that Conflict is not expecting, or sorry, that Johnny is not expecting, and just kind of get there. Like, even in his main, even in his home of GSC, Conflict sometimes brings, Typhlosion and just, Moltres, random nonsense, Kangaskhan to SPL games. Like, he's not afraid to bring weird shit, and that's just the way that he is. I don't know. I think Johnny would almost prefer a safer, more standard opponent. I think Johnny would rather play against somebody that he is more familiar with. One of the guys who is closer to his own era that he's played against on ladder or whatever. I don't know if he really knows Conflict, and I think Conflict, if he's on his game and bringing weird shit, like I said, I think there's upset potential here. I'm gonna pick Johnny, but already looking at the predictions for this one, it's 23-2 as an example. You guys think this one is a stomp. You guys think that Johnny is going to crush him. Yes. I think Conflict is going to put up a fight. I don't think this is going to be a walkover. You called it light work, and I don't agree.
I'm definitely believing in Johnny G2. He just had a fantastic year. I think he's more informed. Hard to go with Conflict.
Well, I picked Johnny to win also, but you guys think he's going to fucking 12-0 him in 5 minutes. I don't agree with that. I think Conflict is going to put up a fight.
Well, his past Callous invite appearances, his 2 games in SPL don't really say the same, but I will. Well, to each their own.
Yeah, I might eat my words. Well, there's only 4 people left, and therefore, as we get to this point every year, by revealing one pairing, we inadvertently reveal the other. We're just going to take them one at a time. This next one is the final, in my mind, feature match, highlight match. I said there's 4 big ones. M-Dragon Soulwind, Tricking McMagan, Mcmur ABR, and then this one I think is another big one. What am I being threatened with, Jabba?
You give us UD and triangles. I'm going to swim over to your house and tear you apart.
Careful, you're gonna get banned from smogon.com. Here we go.
It is.
What did I just say?
It's UD versus a Stocking 5 and every single alt on the ADV ladder.
I told Triangles he wasn't going to be happy with his pairing, and he's like, oh, or no, it was UD who said it. Oh, I'm happy to play against anybody. There's no one I don't want to play against. And I'm kind of like, I don't think you want this pairing. I tried to tell you. But I don't think either one of these guys are Happy with this pairing. They're both on their own favorites to win the tournaments. This is obviously going to start one of them in the lower bracket and hurt their run. They're friends. They know each other. This pairing sucks. This could easily be a round 5 winners bracket matchup, but alas, it is not. And like I said, I don't think either player is thrilled. Prediction here, I don't know. Fuck me. I don't. They're so good. You've got a money winner in UD and one of the all-time greats. You've got a champion from the winners bracket in triangles, which up until last year had never been done. It's two of the best. It's two of the best to ever do it. My prediction is, I don't know. Dante sucks. UD wins.
Yeah, this pairing's messed up. The crowd hates it. If it was me, I would have fudged the numbers on this one and changed it. Flipped triangles and fear. This is really unfortunate. Like you said, they're friends. They were probably gonna help each other prep, and now instead
they still can.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. And like you said, you went over the credentials. Last year though, they both had a rough year, so I guaranteed they're looking to both bounce back, and unfortunately, they just run into each other round 1. That's really going to put a damper on one of their tournaments. If I'm going, I'm going to go with UD, just for the fact that we used to play on Net Battle.
Bunch. I'd like to go with triangles here because I think that UD has really great builds, but what if he uses some jank Steelix stuff that and he claims that works, like Steelix Fortress? Nah, miss me with that shit. Yeah, if he does that, then I don't think I can ever favor him against triangles, who brings like more solid stuff, even though it's like it can look jank, but I think triangles generally brings slightly more solid stuff. I want to go with triangles here.
And then of course
I think there's nothing else much there now.
We know the last pairing. No need to keep anyone in suspense. It's Ban Manaphy or Mana these days, either or, against Fear. And Java's going to talk all about it.
Yeah, I think Mana is Ban Manaphy. He came in CI4. I remember he was the last second toss in. I forget who dropped.
ZF.
To give him, who did?
ZF.
Okay. And he came in and took third. He looked great. That was the year I think he also finished first or second in ADV Cup, right?
Second to Tama, I think.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Also correct. You guys have good memories. Yep.
In last year he was more middling, but he's got a high ceiling. Obviously, you don't hit third place without a high ceiling. Fear is Fear. He's been playing ADV since the Big Bang. Always hard to pick against him. I'm not sure how he did. He was down there with me last year in the slumming it in the 0-2. I think this is a tough one to pick. They're both obviously really good players. I'll go with Ban Manaphy on this one though.
For me, it's like, okay, we have a guy whose Fear is probably one of the oldest players in this tournament. He qualified for Smogon Tour before Jester was born, probably, and we have Mana, who is like historically he did pretty good in Kala's Invite, a third place finish, and I think 2-2 last year. He's not afraid to build and come up with something that's slightly more interesting. And I think Fear may stick to slightly older looking teams, but I want to like let everyone know out there that I think Fear was the first one to come up with what we call the traditional Zoomer team, which of Zapdos, Breloom, Suicune, Duck Trio, that Jirachi, Gengar, that team. I think Fear was the first one I saw using it. So he's not as much of I think he created
Zoomer strats.
He created the Zoomer 6.
Wow.
Like with Breloom over Gengar, if I'm not wrong. Yep. That was the team. The only first person I saw using that team was Fear. So he's not as boomer as you guys might think. But I think I'll go with Mana here.
I think most people are going to go with Mana. I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to pick Fear to win. Mana's quite good. Fear I know for a fact has been laddering. I'm not going to reveal his ult, but I chat with him from time to time privately, and I know that for over a month he's been laddering and like really getting back into ADV shape and taking it seriously. And I have a lot of respect for Fear's game when he is taking it seriously and in touch with the meta. Now, granted, Mana is just good at every tier, every tournament that Mana plays. He does well, and he's just solid. He's hard to bet against in anything, but who doesn't like an underdog story? Who wants to just go with the boring? What's the predictions? 17-3. Nah. I want to be a contrarian today. It's going to be Fear who achieves victory. Mana going to get blown out by Fear. And I guess that's all of our
maybe you're rooting for Fear because Fear is one of the few guys who have played in every single iteration of Callous Invite.
That's true. There's not that many of those anymore. It's really dwindling. All right, we're done with all the pairings. Real quick, give me your favorite pairing of the round, and also the pairing with the biggest upset potential, and then we're out of here.
My favorite is Mcmur versus ABR.
And the biggest potential upset.
Would you consider Mcmur ABR as an upset?
Technically, yeah.
I mean, I would not be overly surprised by that result, but I think many other people would.
Yeah, I'm going with that.
How about you, Jabba?
I gotta agree. I think that's pretty straightforward. I think that's the best matchup. If I had to pick a second, I'd probably go maybe I don't know, maybe Endl versus the Flopster, Georgie. Going by the numbers, I think the biggest upset potential is maybe I had one locked in. I forgot it. I think Mess over Markov. Considering how lopsided that these predictions are, I think this is the most likely huge upset. Actually, looking at these numbers, we have 27-6 right now. I don't think that matchup is that far apart as the predictions have it.
Me? UD Triangles is a tragic pairing, but it's going to be really good Pokemon. That's probably my favorite, just from a matchup perspective. That's probably my favorite. Mcmur ABR is exciting, but UD Triangles for me is the highlight of the round. I also think your match Jabba is pretty good. I think Pock Jirachi is pretty good. There's a couple close ones. Biggest upset, I'm going to stick with what I said. I think that Conflict has the potential to upset Johnny, and I'm not stabbing Johnny in the back. Johnny, if I had to pick one player to win the tournament, would be my pick. That's how high I think of Johnny G2. But I think it's a scary matchup. I think that Conflict has real upset potential. And if I had to look at another one, apparently Umbre, since you guys have 25 versus 7 that Kurtz beats Umbre, I picked Umbre to win that match anyway. So I think that one also has upset potential, if you would consider it as such. And that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys being here with me. I appreciate you guys in the audience tuning in. I hope you like some of these pairings. Tournament has just begun. We got $1,500, and I would love to get more. If you want to donate, they're open. They'll be open all tournament long. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.